you think if we do this
We can.
consistently, si hata mi naweza kuja to hike Mount Kenya na wewe.
That's where
I'm
Mount
like,
Kenya
yeah,
came from.
exactly. I'm like, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
Wait, paka huko juu.
Yeah.
She's like, why not? I'm like, sawa.
Yeah.
Mimi, if you ask me, I'd say, hizo ni stories za jaba. I
Stories
was not
za
about to do Mount Kenya
jaba.
anytime.
Yeah.
And not with my mom.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another beautiful season of Grief Angels. We are back with a bang. We've been away for such a long time, but here we are now. We have some good things lined up for you this season, starting with a very interesting conversation around honoring our parents. Somewhere down the road, we're going to discuss divorce and the grief that comes from that. We're also going to go into succession planning. So many good things lined up, so stay tuned and watch out for this season. As always, I am your host, Rose Gishure. I am glad to be back in studio to do this and to continue to demystify grief and have conversations about grief, to normalize grieving and to just educate ourselves as a society, as a community of grievers. What do we know? What don't we know? So this is the season to watch out for. Stay on the channel, like the channel, share with somebody who needs it. Thank you for everybody who's been engaging with us all this time we've been away in the DMs, on Instagram. Our community has really, really grown. We've gone out and done so many cohorts of support groups. Thank you to everybody who has come through our doors, and to anybody who still needs to come through our doors. Please share this Instagram page with them and send them our way. We are happy to support where we can. Starting us out this season is this episode I'm excited about around honoring our parents or honoring our loved ones when they die. A lot of times we do not know what to do. So we are stuck in, how do I do this? Do I go to the grave every day? Do I take flowers every day? What more can I do? And in the support groups, we actually discuss ways to honor your loved ones, healthy ways, and some also unhealthy ways that you can find yourself in. If, for example, you're trying to continue something your loved one did and it's depleting you financially. Maybe your mom used to pay school fees for 5 children out there and you feel like you need to continue doing that, yet you don't have the financial capability. We discuss things like that. But today we're discussing someone who climbed Mount Kenya. I don't know how people do that. We're going to get to hear that. And we're also going to get to hear the motivation behind it. But welcome to the podcast, Stacy.
Thank you so much.
And I'm so glad I met you earlier in the year, even if it was under very sad circumstances.
I know.
So maybe talk to us about your loss story. What's your story of loss?
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Stacy, and I lost my mom to cancer on the 26th of November last year.
Yeah.
So it's been
I'm so sorry
10
about
months.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're almost coming up to a year now.
Almost.
Yeah.
Not looking forward to the day.
I know.
Honestly.
I know. Cancer sucks. I think you have to say that. Cancer sucks.
Cancer sucks, man. Cancer sucks big time. It
does. Yeah.
It's so unfortunate that we met under these circumstances.
Yeah.
But
how old was your mom when she died?
My mom was 53.
50, that is so young.
She was so young. She looked even younger.
Yeah.
She didn't look a day older than 45. I'd say 44. Yeah, she looked really young.
Okay. How long had she been unwell?
For 5 years.
5 years.
Exactly 5 years. Yeah.
Cancer gave her 5 years.
It did, but it was discovered at a very early stage.
Okay. What cancer was it?
It was cancer of the cervix. And the doctors were very honest with us from the beginning, although we saw very many, very different specialists. But the initial doctors that we saw, they were honest enough to give us a cap of 5 years.
They did?
Yeah.
They called it and they said this is...
They didn't say it as directly that she was going to die.
Yeah.
But they told us cervical cancer, typically within 5 years, you would know if there's going to be a serious recurrence.
Okay.
Or if...
So all through, what happens? Just, is it chemotherapy, radiation? Does it go? Does it come back?
For my mom, it went away twice.
It went away. Okay.
Yeah, it went away twice. But that's just what the doctors told us.
Okay.
The first time, it really did go away. The second time, though, they said she had got into remission. But my mom was like, I can feel my body. There's something wrong. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Let me just go. Let me overspend.
medical care.
But I need to be sure that I'm actually cancer free.
Yeah.
And when she investigated, she discovered a small recurrence, which of course meant she had to go back to chemo.
Yeah.
She got a hysterectomy done, which is basically the procedure of removing the uterus.
Yeah.
And man, the cancer still grew and grew.
Cancer is aggressive, especially when it comes back a second and third time. Yeah. Comes back with its cousins.
Exactly. And then it goes from the cervix upwards.
To the lungs.
Upwards. So it starts with the liver, the intestines, liver, heart, brain, then.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you were your mom's primary caregiver, and we've talked about this even in the support groups. And I thank you so much for joining the groups as well. It really changes your outlook on grief and the community that you form. But let's talk about you being primary caregiver for your mom. And then now she has died. You had, all you woke up and knew was to take care of her. And then now there's no one to take care of. Where does that leave you as a caregiver? Emotionally and mentally?
I think even before we talk about the caregiving bit, I can maybe touch on the relationship I had with my mom.
Yes.
Because I was not appointed as the caregiver. I found myself because of the relationship we had. My mom and I were very, very close.
Yeah.
We shared, for lack of a better word, similar traumas. And we bonded over those experiences.
Okay.
Very different in terms of age, but very similar. And so ours was more of a friendship.
It's woman to woman.
Woman to woman.
Yeah.
How we used to talk, how we used to relate to each other. It was literally one grown woman to another.
Yeah.
And so when I found myself as her primary caregiver, it was basically just me taking care of my best friend.
Got it.
I didn't do it from a sense of duty.
I'm a child.
Yeah. No. It was me taking care of someone I love from a friend perspective. So when there was because she was unwell for a really long period, especially the last year, there was a routine around what needed to be done. So there was a hospital visit. And then when the illness escalated and she stayed at my place for a while, there was a very set, very tight, very strict routine.
Yeah.
When to wake up, medication, when to bathe her, when to feed her, what to feed her.
And you're on top of this is you.
I mean, it's my house.
Yeah, it is your house.
It's my house.
Yeah.
I am by myself.
Yeah.
Of course, I was with my child.
Yeah.
But
this is your household, yeah.
Then this is my mom and my friend in my bedroom. It was me. So when she died, I remember, so when I got the call from the hospital, because I had frequented it almost every day, I knew their voices. So I remember calling the nurse who called me by his name and asking him, has she died? Nisho too.
What? Just like
why
that?
Why are you calling me
because they never call.
At noon?
Yeah.
And the visiting hours were from, I think, 12:45. They used to call me maybe for pre-authorization. So maybe they would want me to approve something and then go and sign later when I fika the hospital.
Yeah.
So I was like, why are you calling me? Do you need an authorization on something? And he was like, no, you just come. How far are you? I told him, I'm just leaving the house. I was like, okay, hurry and come. And I was like, she died. It's like, you just come. And I just knew it.
Yeah.
And from that period, the call came in at around noon. I got into the Uber and I was feeling very broken. And then I got to the hospital. And because I was used to being on top of things, my default just kicked. That sense of loss completely disappeared. You know how someone gets devastated when they are told someone
and then you can't do anything. Yeah.
It was there for less than 30 minutes. Like for
you
that
went into
ride,
what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Yes.
I quickly jumped into it. I did what I could, which was the most.
Yeah.
And then after the burial, I was just there.
Yeah.
I have nothing to do. My whole life for the past
There's
few
no more
months,
routine. The routine has been taken away.
I remember waking up at 6 a.m. and thinking, saizi ndio angekuwa nakula breakfast. So what now? and you're not ready to go back to work, and you're just there, like, and you're not feeling anything. I was like, okay, I'm ready for the grief to kick in. And it was not kicking in. I really waited for it to kick in.
Yeah. But there's this void and this role that has been taken away. The caregiver role now has disappeared, because then if you were Stacy, the mom, and the home owner, home manager, and the caregiver, now you're just left with the first two. Do you get? Like you're the...
Yeah.
So then how do you feel that void? What do you begin to do?
If I'm being honest, initially I did nothing.
Which is fine.
I did nothing. Sometimes I really wanted to do something, but I just didn't have the energy, the motivation for it.
Yeah.
Until I discovered the outdoors. I didn't really discover it, but outdoors saved me, for lack of a better explanation.
What did they do for you?
It's literally Mount Kenya.
But what did the outdoors do to you? Because you didn't jump from I'm not feeling like doing anything to here I am on the mountain. The outdoors, the first time, because you used to hike even before your mom died, but not as much because, of course, being tied up with time and being, I guess, caregiver and everything. So the hiking had kind of...
Plus, I was not a serious hiker initially. It was just
now you're
vibes.
Such a serious hiker. My gosh, you're killing us with all these hikes left, right, and center in the group. And I'm like, we can't go to all these things. So you're saying this hiking Stacy we see has come after your mom. It's a byproduct of your grief.
Yes.
That's such an interesting...
I know.
That's so interesting.
I started hiking last year, actually. But I was just discovering it. And I definitely would have never invested the way I have.
The hiking is expensive.
It's bloody expensive. Because of the gear. Boots are like 8,000.
What? Na hujalipia kwenda hiyo hike kwanza.
And you cannot have a single pair of boots. Well, it's kind of like if you like high heels, you will have several.
No, there's too much money in that thing. Can we just do something? Can we just picnic? Why are we suffering?
I think it's just an elite sport.
Is it like it's like golf? Is it like a challenge that you give yourself and then you want to prove to yourself that you can do, and you go out and you do it and you feel nice about it? Is that what it does for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that sense of fulfillment, achievement, it can get addictive.
Okay. Especially, sorry to catch you in, especially at a time when you're not able to do anything else around you. This one thing that you're ticking the box on and achieving and pushing yourself from this, I guess, beginner level to whatever other levels there, they're intermediate and advanced. You kind of feel nice that you're doing something nice and you're progressing, making progress, because you know you're on the other side of it is when you come back home and, do I really have to do this? Like being the business and running a business, you still don't have the motivation for that, but this thing really gives you dopamine, if it's dopamine that you get.
It gives you dopamine and more.
And more, yeah.
I would say I did Mount Kenya. I don't want to say by accident, by chance.
Okay.
So when I started hiking, it was again for vibes. And I got into hiking because of a relationship.
That's a good relationship.
Everyone on the trails, no, because of a broken relationship. And I like to say, which is the truth. Everyone on the trails.
So wait a minute. You've lost your mom. You're deep in grief. There's a relationship here that has...
No.
This one came later.
No. The broken relationship happened first.
Okay.
And I was really in the pits for a while. And then one day, my friend suggested, actually, it wasn't even, at that time we were friends, but it's someone I met through my business.
Okay.
And they're like, okay, you read a lot, you would enjoy this. We were in a similar group, a bibliophile group, and they were planning a hike. I was like, I'm no hiker. I really cannot. Because it was... People who hike know Lake Ellis. It is not a beginner hike. It's on Mount Kenya.
I know Lake Ellis. I've seen
it's
pictures of
proper. It's very scenic.
But it's why you go and take off your hiking gears and you wear beautiful clothes and take pictures.
And you take photos, yeah.
I don't know how you guys do that, but okay.
But it was not a beginner hike. Yeah. And he was like, just do it. I mean, what else
But you didn't start with Mount Kenya, no?
It is Oh, it's a Mount Kenya trail.
Oh, okay.
But it's not at the summit. It's not
Okay.
even close to the summit. It's just a day thing.
Okay.
It takes around 6 to 7 hours.
Okay.
So that was my very first hike.
Mm-hmm.
I did it as an outlet. I liked it so much. But for the next 2 weeks, I could not feel my legs.
Yeah.
And I remember complaining to my mom every single day, hey, mom, I really enjoyed this hike.
But I don't think I'll do it again. What was that?
And then I did it again.
Yeah.
I went to Mount Longonot.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have not really suffered like last time, so maybe I could make this my thing.
Okay.
And my mom was like, you should, because when you're not hiking, you're doing things I don't like. So yeah, you hike. In fact, I'll motivate you. Let's be walking daily. And my mom and I started this routine of just taking morning walks. At that time, she was still on medication, but her illness was progressing. So even for her, it was a way for us to bond, but it was also a way for her to keep fit, because most of the time she was just in bed.
Yeah.
We started doing those daily morning walks.
Yeah.
And then one day she just randomly threw it in there. She was like, you think if we do this consistently, si hata mi naeza kuja to hike Mount Kenya na wewe.
That's where Mount Kenya came from.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
Wait, paka huko juu.
Yeah.
She's like, why not? I'm like, sawa.
Yeah.
Mimi, if you ask me, I'd say, hizo ni stories za jaba. I was not about to do Mount Kenya anytime.
Yeah.
And not with my mom. I know, please.
Yeah.
But where life happened so fast between that moment and when she died, it was a blur, because I don't even think I did any other hike
in between. Yeah. How soon after the funeral did you start hiking again?
Man, I don't remember. I just remember I was randomly scrolling on Instagram one day and I saw this babe, a friend of mine, posted, anyone feels like doing Mount Kenya in July. So she gave tentative dates. And it took me back to that conversation I had with my mom. I was like,
maybe you should do
I really want to do it. I had toyed with that thought before.
Yeah.
I think we were at the support group and we were talking about ways to honor our parents.
Yes.
And I had toyed with that thought before, but I wasn't ready to actualize it. But when I saw that post on Instagram, I just DM'd her. I was like, how much would it cost? And I'm not a hiker. I have done a few hikes, but I'm not a Mount Kenya summit hiker. Can I do it? She was like, yeah, and we'll train in between.
Yeah.
And I decided, why not do it? And for me, it was not just the thought of it.
Yeah.
It was actually doing all the prep hikes.
Yeah.
Investing in gear. I had zero gear. Investing in gear, paying for the actual hike. It was a proper investment.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel a pinch.
Yeah.
Because
of the motivation.
Yeah. It was not vibes for me.
This one now stopped being vibes. It became, you're doing this.
I like to think that it was Stacy, and my mom had a nickname. I used to call her Super Liz.
Okay.
She was so young for her age.
Yeah.
So I used to call her Super Liz. So it was a Stacy and Super Liz project.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically that's how.
Did you ever feel the pressure of there's no way I'm not doing Mount Kenya and I have to do it for her? Because then that can also be such unnecessary pressure.
When you say there's no way I'm doing Mount Kenya, like
there's no way I'm not doing it.
Oh.
Yeah. So
not really.
Like there's no way that you knew you had to do it. One
thing about me, if I put my mind on something, I don't really overthink it.
Yeah.
If I have weighed the odds from the onset and I decide this is what I want to do, I just go full throttle on it.
Yeah.
And I do it. So I never second guess myself. I think it just kept getting expensive. And I remember thinking, wait.
Yeah.
But anyway, nishaanza, start kuachia katikati.
Yeah.
But I was not feeling that pinch of, when you go to the supermarket and you have to use this Omo. But wanaongeza bei all the time.
Yeah.
And you just feel that pinch and you're like, you know what? I don't even have to use this Omo.
Yeah.
I was not feeling like that. For me, I was like,
let's continue.
It's a lot of money, but
let's continue. Let's continue. Okay. So you climbed Mount Kenya eventually. And you got to the top of it.
Yes.
And you pulled out a picture of your mom. Maybe first when I saw that, I was like, wait, what? Like, she did what? But now I'm like thinking about everybody else who's around you. What do they think?
Again.
Because are you not tired by the time you get to the summit?
Watch hata tired. you get so sick.
Oh, yes.
Because of the altitude.
Yes.
Despite training, we had done a few other hikes prior to Mount Kenya that were purely for altitude, acclimatization basically. And even during the expedition, we spent a night on the mountain at the foot of the summit, the peaks rather. And that trek from the base camp to the summit, it gets to a point, it stops being physical. It becomes spiritual. It is between you and your motivation.
You're about to meet him. What?
You get so sick.
Yeah.
I got so personally. People react differently to altitude. Personally, I really threw up.
You threw up. Okay.
I threw up a lot. There was proper headaches. You hallucinate kidogo.
Okay.
I was not feeling shame.
Yeah.
Because I had started telling them, I'm doing this for my mom before. And even when we got to Mount Kenya and we met with the porters, I remember telling them, because it was raining, the first day of the hike, we hiked in the dark.
In the rain.
And in the rain. I remember telling them, wacha kila kitu nyeshewe. Just make sure this photo ifike kwa camp intact.
Yeah.
So already they respected it. We didn't really talk much about it. But when I got to the summit, I was the last one to get to the summit. When we got to the summit, I just saw those girls and I cried.
Oh, gosh.
I cried. I cried for like 15 minutes before photos, before I cried. And
How was that feeling for you? It was just...
I don't know.
What did it feel like? You felt like your mom was there with you?
I did. Even on the trails, as I was throwing up and telling the guide, I can't do this. The guide was like, is it 100% you can't do it? I'm like, no, like 80. Like, let's use the 20.
Yeah.
When I got to the summit, I feel like since my mom died, I had never really
grieved or cried.
Yeah, or I had never actualized my grief. I always knew, I always imagined I'm grieving, I'm existing in it, but I had never really pictured it. When I got to the summit, I felt a heaviness lift. Not a relief per se, but I felt like I was finally acknowledging that I had lost my mom.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, and I didn't even recognize that feeling until much later.
Yeah.
When I sat down with it, I think I was making an Instagram post about it, and I sat with that feeling.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh shit, I'm grieving.
You're actually deep in your grief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you pulled out the picture.
Yeah. And we all cried with my girls.
It was so beautiful. I loved that picture. I was like, I can't like this picture enough. How do I keep liking it?
Even my girls cried so hard.
Yeah. And I'm happy you got to do that for your mom.
Yeah.
It's really even just also so soon after, because it wasn't even like, it was like 6 months later, thereabouts, 6-7 months later, thereabouts.
It happened in July.
July, yeah. So it's
end of July.
Yes, it's not even a year.
And we started training earlier than that.
Yeah. So it's not a lot of people do, because the first year of grief, people get very stuck in and trying to find themselves and who they are. But I always say, give your grief a form of expression, because if you don't give your grief some expression, it will find something to attach itself to. So that's why you see people sink into alcoholism or depression, because your grief needs something. So the fact that you found hiking, you found the outdoors, and you also had such a big motivator for it is powerful. What would you say to somebody who is fresh in their grief journey as we come to a close? What would you say about somebody who's just freshly where you are in November, December?
Sit with it.
Yeah.
I remember when we started I think it was cohort 2 or 3.
It was, you guys were 2? I think you guys were 2.
Yeah. One of the initial assignments you gave us was write a letter to your grief. And so I tried to write that letter, let me tell you. To date, I've never written it.
Kutofanya homework. Ni nyinyi.
Because you said, talk to grief.
Yeah. Get comfortable with her.
Yeah. Her or him.
Yeah.
However you picture it.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to sit with grief.
Yeah.
And I couldn't.
Yeah.
It's it's next to impossible initially to try and picture grief as a person and to sit with it. So just extend yourself some grace, allow the numbness to pass, and whatever feeling you get, sit with it.
Yeah.
I would say there are pockets of happiness in between.
Yeah.
For example, I find so much joy in hiking now. I have attached my grief to hiking, but not 100%. I still hike for the fun of it, for pleasure, without feeling guilty. You might find that you used to do things that used to give you joy before, and now you have lost a loved one, and you find yourself in a situation where you're doing something fun, you feel you're enjoying it, but it comes with a side of guilt.
Yeah.
It's completely normal.
Yeah.
Although at first it might not feel like it, but it's completely normal. It's just a byproduct of grief.
Yeah.
And grief is a huge suitcase that you only unpack item by item, piece by piece. You cannot rush to the bottom of the suitcase initially.
That's true. Yeah.
And there's no timeline.
Exactly.
There's
don't
really
rush
no
yourself.
timeline.
Do not rush yourself.
Yeah, there's no timeline for grief.
For grief.
So just extend yourself some grace and unpack one day at a time as it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you... I had a question for you that is disappearing. Let me find it. How has this experience... This is the last question. How has this experience shifted the way you view life and the way you navigate your own personal growth now? If it has shifted anyway. If it hasn't, it's also...
Wow.
Yeah. Not many people climb Mount Kenya, but if I went to climb Mount Kenya, I think I'd also come out of there a whole new person.
Changed person, yeah. But first, I feel like grief, again, is very personal. It's different for everyone. Even if you're in the same family, it's different for everyone. I had to learn quick fast that yes, you are grieving. Yes, you lost your mom. But one, you have a business.
Yeah.
You have to survive. Like you depend on this business to exist in Nairobi.
And life won't wait for you.
And life will not wait for you. Na hutarudi kwa mama yako because unfortunately she's not here with you. So I had to like snap out of it and with all my numbness get back to work. And this gives you a whole definition of the word strong. Although I really don't like it, but
you don't
where I am.
Strong soldier.
Man, don't call me, please.
But are you saying you're a different person post Mount Kenya? Like August Stacy is very different from March
Stacy is lighter.
Okay.
If I'm snapping back into something, I don't feel that heaviness in my heart, as opposed to when I was swinging back to normalcy.
Yeah, with the heaviness.
Yeah, with that heaviness that I could not even pinpoint or actualize or define.
Yeah.
Right now, if I'm having a bad day,
you can identify where it's coming from.
Yeah, I'm able to say, okay, this is just a bad day. I'm missing mom.
Yeah.
But it will pass.
Yeah.
I'm able to extend myself more grace. And it's a very different Stacy from the Stacy before Mount Kenya. I don't know, that experience, it changes you in a way. I don't even know how
I guess you won't know unless you go to Mount Kenya.
You just have to go and experience it on your own.
Okay. So Stacy has told us we all just have to go to Mount Kenya. She has been trying to actively get us and the cohorts that she's from into hiking. One day, one time we will do that. But thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
I don't know what lies ahead. You're doing Kilimanjaro. Is that something that you want to do?
Early next year.
Here we go. But thank you so much. And I'm happy that you found something that you liked, something that pushes you also physically.
It does.
So I guess stay on this path, try and win as many people as possible into this side. And I'm glad that you got to honor your mom in this powerful way. And as you continue to do more things to honor her and to honor her memory, this is such a big one. I mean, my gosh, I'm even feeling embarrassed. How am I honoring my parents? What? I'm not climbing mountains out here for them, but they also didn't like to climb. Yeah, but yeah, so ask yourself, how are you honoring your loved one? Is it something that they wanted to do? Is it something that you wanted to do together? Is it something that you can still do? Sit with those questions and find out what is this thing that you can do for as a way to honor them. It could be the biggest of ways or the smallest of ways. Don't overlook anything. As always, this is Grief Angels. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Do look out for what's coming in the rest of the season. Bye.